I do like a good band, don't you? On the show tonight, the man described by one critic as British theatre's greatest contemporary actor, Sir Ian McKellen. Also, the woman once described by another critic as the figurehead on the prow of British television. Sounds painful. She is Joanna Lumley. My first guest has also made his mark on the telly. In the series Men Behaving Badly, he and Martin Clunes were to the image of the English gentleman what Julian Clary is to rugby league. When we next see him on our screens, it'll be as a 6'5" transsexual with Dolly Parton boobs. Now I ask myself, is this acting or fulfilling some private fantasy? Let's find out. Ladies and gentlemen, Neil Morrissey. So, there you are, dressed up, high heels, 6'5", playing this transsexual in a film called Hunting Venus, going out on the telly in a couple of weeks' time.
Yep.
Is it a private fantasy?
Well, a lot of people have asked this. You wouldn't be the first to ask, you know. But I don't know, because, I mean, it did suggest that I ought to play a woman in this film when we were sat around doing it, but I was three sails to the wind, you know, with a few lagers at the time. But because the inspiration came from Nick Vivian, the writer, who saw me and Martin. He wrote a thing for Children in Need where Martin and I played ugly sisters.
Right.
And so he saw me in all this makeup and garb, and he was piecing together this this film, and it just came to him, you know, that he would like to see me as a woman, and I agreed.
And did you regret the experience?
Not at all. It was, I mean, as far as gaining insight into sort of the secret feminine world, there were certain bits and pieces that crept into the persona, because I was 6.5 hours in makeup. I mean, I went in there, an unshaven geezer, and came out 6'5", 25-inch waist, 42, 25, 38 was my measurements. I was quite tasty.
Oh, right. Yeah. Could you keep your hands up yourself?
I managed to. but a lot of people did want to test out the waters, if you know what I mean, yeah.
They liked it a little prod.
People prodding and poking, do they move? You know, all that going on, and how do they feel? But I mean, it's quite an incumbence, really, when you're not used to them. I suppose if you are a woman, you've had all your lifetime to get used to these things. And also there was bits and pieces that had to be tucked away.
Of course.
You know, so quite a lot. And,
where did it go?
Well, interestingly enough, we did go and have a look at a number of pieces of equipment designed to tuck you away. None of which I ended up using. In fact, we had this sort of girdle which flattened me out down there because of, you know, the sticky outy bits. Anyway. But it was a 6.5-hour job in makeup.
What do they attach the boobs to your body with? I mean...
Well, with this glue, believe it or not, that they used to use during the Vietnam War to heal wounds.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, to just seal wounds together, but big gaping wounds, you know, there's stuff that was... Once it was on, it was a 2.5-hour job to take it off as well with these special oils, you know, because once they were on, they were going nowhere. They had all this special sort of foam rubber, which is the thin stuff, which started to sort of decompose towards the end of the day, you know, that was the problem. But the rest of them, they themselves wouldn't come off.
Yes.
Without a great deal of attention.
Did it make you actually glad you were a man?
Very, yeah.
Did it?
Because, I mean, I grew my own nails, things like that as well. So when, if ever you got something in your eye, that was it. It was murder. Until you could find someone who could get that thing out of your eye, because it's too dangerous to go near yourself with these dirty, great nails. And all the makeup and things. I mean, I was drinking water out of a straw in a cup because in case it spoiled my lippy, obviously.
What about the walk? Because that always seems to me to be one of the defining things, at least between men and women. You know, it's a very difficult, different way of moving, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's constantly being told to take shorter steps. You know, someone doing steps, Neil, steps. You know, because Martin directed at Clunes, by the way, yeah. So I had to take short steps. And the heels do kind of help you as well, because you're kind of up there, you know, so you can't be galloping around the place wearing these heels. God knows how anyone dances in them, you know, it's absolutely impossible. And once you've got your waist in as well, I mean, you kind of find yourself up there anyway.
Well, you have this corset, which reduced. I mean, what are you normally? You're
33.
And you went down to what?
25.
25?
Yeah. I know, you wonder where it all goes, don't you? Well, I can tell you. What happens is this corset goes on and there's literally someone put it with their knee in your back. It's one of those old, like I don't know, Elizabethan type corset that really went in. And exactly like a V thing with all bones and God knows what contraptions they have on them. And so it was done, 25 inches once the thing's on. And after you've worn this thing for about 6 or 7 hours, and you take it off, your body remains in the same shape for a couple of hours. You actually hear it all gurgling back into shape in the car on the way home. It's a quite bizarre thing. Yeah.
Well, this is a radical departure for you. You can't imagine anything from going from playing that sort of men behaving badly to this. What's fascinating about you, as much as anything else, is that when you read your life story, it reads like a Catherine Cookson novel. Yeah. But it does, doesn't it? I mean, here you were, this kid, your parents were immigrants from Ireland, and you grew up as a kind of outsiders in where you lived, in Stoke-on-Trent.
That's right,
yeah. Separated what, because you were Irish? Was that
There was definitely a lot of Irish bother going on, you know, down the street. I mean, things that would just go over my head when I was a little kid. You know, people would shout Paddy and things like this. We're in relatively conservative Stafford as well at the time, so we were brought up. So there was an awful lot of that, which is why Irish communities sort of built up. You know, you could hang around with the like-minded people.
Yes.
But yeah, that definitely was going on.
And then you got into trouble with the law, a bit of sort of silly, petty larceny.
Yeah, I mean, daft things.
Daft
really.
things, yes. I mean, nothing.
Nicking pens and.
That's right. Nothing untoward. And yet you were home before the beak at the age of 10 with your brother, who was 12, Stephen, and you were sent to a home.
Yeah. Yeah, the two of us, we were considered. My parents weren't considered able, to be able to look after us. I think that was the problem. We were supposed to be raucous children. We were just bright sparks, you know, sort of in the neighbourhood. You couldn't even call it bad company because we were all the same. We just got caught, you know.
And they separated you and Stephen as well.
Yeah, the day we were in court, we were separated. When we left the court, parents out of one door, us out of another door. Me and my brother. It was his birthday as well, May the 9th. And I went off in one car, and he went off in another car, and I didn't see him for, you know, I didn't see him for probably nearly a decade, you know.
Can you remember that moment when the judge, or the magistrate said...
Yeah, I've got a powerful image in my head of this, you know, this huge sort of fat, slightly sweaty man with a beard, you know, who was obviously a prosecuting solicitor, who kept wanted me to say "sir" after everything I'd said, you know, "Yes, sir," "No, sir," and him sort of declaring this order, and I'm looking around at my mum. My mum was crying, and there I was, whisked out of another door, you know. And within 2 hours, I was sitting in a rec room in a children's home, you know, with a bag of sweets.
What was it like, the children's home?
It was an assessment centre, so there'd be probably, I think, if my memory serves correctly, there probably would have been about 30 people there, 30 or 40 people there, ranging from 6 or 7 years old to 16 years old. So there's a complete mixture of both of dormitories and reasons why people were there. Sometimes people were there because their parents were in prison, or their parents were getting a divorce, or, you know, there was illness in the family or whatever. But we were all chucked together in one big mass, and you can imagine that, you know, we weren't into a normal school. There's a school on site, you know, where the...
Was there any love in it, any care, concern shown by the people who ran it?
I don't remember any. But, I mean, I'm sure there was I mean, the people were as genial as they could be. I mean, the staff who turn up during the day, and I don't know how many days a week they'd turn up there, and they'd go home at night, you know, and there's just a changing bundle of children coming through their care, you know, on a weekly basis.
Well, you see, I mean, at the age of 10, it's extraordinary, isn't it, with you? You were both institutionalised and criminalised, too.
Yeah.
I mean, were you made to feel like a criminal in that sense?
Well, you kind of automatically felt like a criminal because, yes, I suppose it must have been, because this is kind of a retrospective, you know. Yes. I was a kids' homes kid, and that was it. Sure. You know, you didn't sort of, I mean, it was just untenable. That was it. You were there. So I didn't think, oh, what was it be like? You know, I didn't feel like we were oppressed. I just was one of those people.
Yes.
So at school you'd get a bit of it, yeah. You know, kids' homes kids thing, but it also generated a small amount of fear, which you could use into your favour if the bullies were at you, you know what I mean? You sort of looked a bit googly-eyed and threw something at them, and then people would leave you alone a bit. His kids' own kid, leave him.
What effect did it have on your relationship with your parents?
Well, bizarre, because it was just removed, you know, the idea of being parented was removed from my life. Yeah, so, I mean, later on in life, when we kind of, you know, got all back together, as it were, I mean, in retrospective, I mean, they didn't do anything wrong at all, you know, it was, so, I don't know, I mean, they just became friends more than parents, you know. I never went to them. In fact, they come to me for advice, you know, rather than me going to them.
At one point, you actually advertised for foster parents, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I was it was a reason behind it as well. I was at sixth form college doing A-levels because I got amazing O-level results, and then so I went on to sixth form college.
You're a bright lad.
I was quite smart, yeah. When I was, yeah. I mean, I did get all my exams and everything, but I just couldn't be bothered with the writing bit. You know, that was always got me. Homework I never did, but I always got the exam results, etc. Yeah. So when you come to 17, when you're in a kids' home, at the time, you had to go to either back home or somewhere else, find yourself accommodation, or go to a working boys' hostel, because the idea of further education wasn't catered for in those days in the children's home system. So I knew that I was going to have to either go home or get some kind of digs or something. So I just put a notice up on the board at Sixth Form College, foster parents wanted. And lo and behold, got some as well.
And what were they like?
Well, they were fine at the time, but they didn't have to turn out to be. They turned out to be fairly dysfunctional, And there was, well, the kids and everyone. They're all really nice individual people, but the parents, this as well, because obviously the children weren't meant to be together for the rest of their lives. But the parents ended up. Well, when I left. He went off with his boyfriend, he's now gay and out the closet. And she ran off with the handyman, which was rather nice, yeah. But I'm still in touch with the son, with Mark, and we talk regularly and we go out for a beer and things and reminisce.
What was it that got you through all that and got you into a career? I mean, did you always know that you had this in you to make something of yourself?
I suppose in a strange way, in a retrospective way, because at the time, when you're that age, when you're just getting through things, you don't realise how empowered you are. It's purely with a retrospective point of view that I can think, my God, that happened to me, that was me. And I just think it must be just... When I think back at it, it was just tenacity and a need and an urge within me to sort of go further, to be free of these kind of shackles of institutionalisation, which is even now, I don't know. Even the thought of going to work at the National scares me a bit. It's another. It's an institution. Will they let me out if I get in there? Will I have to be sent to bed early?
The other interesting thing, Neil, about it now is of course that you were married, you're divorced, and you have a son aged 9. And I suppose that one of the fears that anybody must have who's been through what you've been through is that it might happen to your child as well. So what's been the situation there?
Oh, he lives with his mum, and she's been married and got another baby and things, and we see each other all the time. We go out en masse. We're all very friendly. So, it sounds safe. He's happy and safe and doing really well.
Has he seen you yet as a 6'5" transsexual woman? I mean, this is because children are, notorious that when they see their parents on television, it's very strange, isn't it? Particularly actors.
But he's seen me on television a lot, in various different things, and he's watched men behaving badly. And of course, because of the sort of secrecy of the kind of what I look like in this show, they've kept withheld photographs and...
I think have we shown the photographs already?
No. Oh my God, yeah. You see, those are the stickers, that's the girdle thing.
That's the girdle thing there. The fine pair of Dolly Partons. And there's the...
That's the hair extensions, pre-makeup, because you can see I've still got my beard line and everything. Right. Even my eyebrows were plucked and everything. It was quite bizarre.
And we've got one more. There you are.
Oh, there we are.
That's very tasty, actually.
Aren't they? A lovely pair. Yeah.
So he's seen those in magazines.
No, not yet.
Oh,
I did manage to show him. I had a photograph that I was carrying around with me, and I managed to show him a photograph of me. I just handed it to him and said, "What do you think of that?" And he just looked at it, and looked at me, and went, "Oh my God." But he's kind of unimpressed with all this kind of thing. He's the kind of kid, when you take him to a pantomime and the smoke comes billowing out of the back of the set, he goes like this, he goes, Dad, that's not real smoke, that's a smoke machine. He's quite cool like that, He sussed it all out.
So what you got your own production company now?
Yeah, Caroline Quentin and I run a production company.
Yeah, so I think that really your first big enterprise ought to be, you should write that life story and actually film it. It's a wonderful story. It's extraordinary. And it's a very hopeful story too.
Yeah. It's certainly, it's helped me through,
Neil Morrissey, for the moment, thank you very much indeed. Neil Morrissey.
Thank you.
Now, if Neil defined men behaving badly, then my next guest represented women behaving outrageously. As Patsy and absolutely fabulous, she played against her image as an intelligent, glamorous and elegant woman by portraying a slob, both appalling and hilarious. Ladies and gentlemen, Joanna Lumley. So,
He doesn't know how to walk as a woman.
I know.
Now, you as an ex-model down at, what was the name? Lucy Clayton.
Lucy Clayton. It was a long time ago. It was 1964.
Oh, Lord.
And they taught us how to do catwalk modelling walks in those days. Wonder if you'd like to have a little look at this.
Yes, yeah, please, show me.
The most important thing, they said, was to keep your hips forward. The first thing to come into the room should be your hips. Shoulders right back. Cross your legs over, so the first foot will go there, the second foot will go there, the second foot will go there. Do you want to try that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Really like
So the hips forward, and
Hips,
you've got a
don't
nice
forget-
girdle. No,
well,
you've got the
I've got
girdle.
no girdle, so I've got equipment now. So hips forward.
Hips forward, legs nice and
crossed.
crossed.
And then I've got to go in front if you
Yeah.
want. Hang on, let me
Crisscross,
see.
crisscross,
Because you do it really
crisscross.
gracefully, yeah.
1,
There we are.
2.
How's that?
He hasn't got his lovely shoes on.
No, my heels.
They used to teach you as well at Lucy Clayton how to get out of a Mini without showing your legs, didn't they?
An E-type, even lower, yes, knees together.
An
and
E-type.
Swing round, hand up to your boyfriend, bright smile. And always when you left a room, you had to get to the door, and then the last thing you did is turn around to the room and just go. It worked.
Oh, dear. Then, because you get lumbered with that in those days particularly. I mean, models have changed now, haven't they?
Completely different. It's a
Perception's changed,
completely
hasn't it?
different thing. We were paid about £4 an hour, and that seemed quite a lot of money. I suppose I made about £120 in a week, sometimes when I was in a good week. But it was just so different. We did everything. We did sort of nylon. The clothes were really different then. You had to do all your own makeup, all your own hair. We had to carry suitcases full of hair pieces, Carmen rollers, you did all that, all your glue on your fingernails. You had to have different coloured polo necks, different coloured ties, all your accessories, bags, shoes, gloves, which you had to keep up to speed yourself. And now you see these children, and they are usually quite young. They just go in like a babe and sit down and it's all done. And they look wonderful.
Well, they're too thin.
Yeah, models with bodies is what we
Yeah, that's right.
As we saw, darling.
Yes.
It's just what we want.
The other thing, too, about being a model in the days that you were was it was frustrating, must have been, in terms of your career as an actress, because, again, I mean, models didn't become actors, did they?
They didn't, no. No, my dream was to become an actress, and I tried for RADA when I was 16 and turned down. And I was so upset at being turned down. I thought if I try for another drama school and they turn me down, I'll never have the nerve to go on. So I never tried acting school again. So I never went to a drama school.
Do you regret that?
You can't regret anything in your life, but I must say, I've never done Shakespeare. And that's the only reason I became an actress, was to do Shakespeare.
Really?
Because I played all men at school, you see. I was
You played all men at school?
Petruchio, and I was all the chaps, because I was quite tall. And I look quite good in a beard, like you and your bosoms.
Yes,
darling.
exactly.
Maybe we should have a little show.
Should
or
we?
something.
Yeah.
Anthony.
Perhaps we'll do Romeo and Juliet, but swap it round.
Exactly.
I'll do Juliet.
But I love Shakespeare so much, and I thought, when I grow up, I'll go and become an actress and do Shakespeare. But it never happened, and so I just became a model and thought, well, I'll get in through the back door. And I used to lie like mad, and when people said, if you've done a lot of commercials, I go, masses, yeah. And I'm doing some television, I've got a film role, and I lied my way into everything, and eventually lied my way onto the stage in the West End.
Yes.
And learnt on the hoof, really.
But what about the business? You mentioned when you were at school, you played the men's parts. I mean, I imagine you to be a very beautiful child.
Revolting.
Were you?
Repellent.
Really?
Well, when I was born, my father said that I looked like a hammer-headed shark, because I just had a mouth from here to here, and no nose at all, just a hole in the middle of my head. And then I was quite a sort of plump little person. Then I grew up, and then my teeth grew, and they were huge. And then I went to school and got acne, and very frizzy hair. I was repellent.
Really?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have much joy with the opposite sex, I imagine.
It was quite successful.
Was it?
I have to tell you, they were so disastrously disgusting that, I just was a breath of fresh air compared with them.
When you look at your career, it's quite interesting, actually, because it's got no shape or form to it. No. It's got no reason.
Exactly.
It's haphazard, isn't it?
I never had
fake.
a plan. Well, it wasn't fake. It was just I had no plan. For a start, I never thought I'd ever get employed at anything. I was grateful for anything anybody offered me. I said, oh, that's fantastic, yeah. That's great, I'll do it. Also, when you're really poor and you've got no intent, you never believe you... Well, in those days, also, you didn't care so much about money. Do you remember this? Money wasn't so important. I mean, the only thing you cared about was paying the gas bill. There was no idea of buying a car or anything like that. And when I did, it only cost £120. So this whole sort of idea of a game plan stretching ahead was nonsense. I just grabbed at anything.
I 100% agree. Yeah, I mean, I literally had the same thing. I left drama school and I didn't think anyone would want a 19-year-old bloke who, you know, has to, the cat licks his chin and that's the hair gone. You know, 6'2", gangly youth, you know, who's completely useless at everything. But it's like, I just blagged my way around the whole world.
Blagging's the thing, is it? Keep moving, you can't hit a moving target.
But I think it's that enthusiasm, you know, like of accepting anything, wanting to do anything, wanting to get involved in anything. That's what people want, because you are a breath of fresh air when you walk into a room then, as opposed to Mr. Bloke who walks in and says, yes, I've always wanted to be in the Royal Shakespeare Company and play Edgar, and then God, eventually I want to finish playing Lear. And, you know, if you've got a game plan, you think, oh, God, boring. Give me something exciting. You want to go and walk across the Sahara barefoot.
Well, I'm talking about which, I mean, that's the other part of your life too, isn't it? I mean, these adventures that you've taken, you've been on your own, on the desert island, yourself with a survival course. You trekked to Bhutan in the footsteps of your grandfather. Again, this was just an accident, was it? It just sort of happened, or was it a lifelong ambition?
Again, it was just saying yes and trying to fit things in. It seems when we're here for such a short time, sometimes it seems forever. But suddenly you realise, unless I do it now and grab it and try to make it work, I'll be so old, and then suddenly you'll go, damn, just sit down and go, damn, missed it, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So the only thing to do is to catch it and run with it.
Yes.
And that goes with taking very, very bad parts, you know, doing disastrously poor work. It doesn't matter. Get it past, get on, you know? And also, when somebody offers you a chance and says, would you like to starve almost to death on a desert island, you go, certainly. Because what if you said no? Think of what you'd missed, you know?
I mean, you've been poor, really, of course, haven't you, as well? I mean, you've been... I remember seeing an interview that you did where you said that one year you earned £60 in a year.
I know, and because I'd been a model, I was called self-employed. And I said, well, how can I be self-employed now as an actor? And they said, well, you just are. So I had a little open fire. I remember burning, you know, the clothes horse. I cut it up and burnt that for heat. We used to live off toast, but actually it doesn't do you any harm at all.
When you say we, was that you and your son?
Me and Jamie, yes.
Yeah. You see, again, it's interesting about you, because, I mean, for all this sort of wonderful presentation of this slightly sort of haphazard woman, in fact, you're a very tough woman, because, I mean, you brought up this boy of yours, and as a single parent, and that ain't easy. I mean, and particularly if you're in the kind of itinerant trade that you're in.
I know. I think the most difficult part about any of these things, any single parent will say, is the actual logistics of how do you work and be a parent at the same time. And actually now, of course, with so many working parents, everybody can understand this terrible problem. If somebody says, can you stay on an hour longer? You go, I've got to get him from school, he's got to get to the Cubs or whatever it is. How am I going to do that? How will I phone somebody? These are the days before mobile phones or even having the money, you know, even for a call box perhaps. So that you're always in a state of, oh, how will we get it fixed in? And you usually do. And when they get to a certain age, I mean, Jamie, like your son, completely unimpressed by the whole business. They don't mind seeing you as a murderer, anything. I showed him a photograph. I was once dressed up as Henry VIII, and I looked very convincing. Big beard and shoes, and I said, who's that? And he went, oh, no. It's true.
But you are resilient, I mean, the two of you, and I think it must be to do with the kind of background that you've had. The sort of
maybe it's blagging.
Maybe it's...
Cheap blagging.
No, really,
Learn to blag early.
We can't be humiliated. We've done it. We've been there. We have scraped along the bottom of the swimming pool, darling. We've been there. That's fair enough.
But what about Ab Fab then? Because I mean, when that came along, I mean that in a sense transformed this particular part of your career. I mean, did you realise it was going to be life enhancing as it's turned out to be?
When I read it, I knew it was. When I read just episode 1, the pilot.
Yes.
I thought this is simply something I haven't seen anywhere before, and I was thrilled to do it. But we didn't even know when we were doing the pilot that it would be commissioned. And there was a general feeling, I mean, luckily it was the BBC and it was Alan Yentov and it was the bright boys who just looked straight into the heart of it and went, this'll work. But I think the general feeling around, I mean, there was one reviewer who wrote about it the first episode and it came out and he went, dear, oh dear, Miss Jennifer Saunders, you are, oh dear, this old-fashioned claptrap, it'll be off within a minute. Cut it out. My husband cut it out and he said, keep this.
Yes.
We'll remember this one.
But is there a sense in which inside this elegant, intelligent, glamorous woman, that there's that alien inside that wants to burst out, which is exactly the opposite?
I think you always feel you're an alien, and then you spend 4 hours trying to get ready to come on Parky's show and look quite polished and nice. So people tend to see you looking quite nice. But actually you're a gibbon outside. trying to get you tamed down and look respectable, you know. And actually, newspapers love to do that. They take photographs of you out when you're shopping, looking tragic. Luckily, people who shop near me are really kind. They still say, hello, Joanna, and things like that. Speak to me.
Yes.
But anyway, I was not looking very hot. But the papers all come and go click, and they go, oh, isn't that revolting? You go, no, that's normal, darling. That is normal. This is the special.
And are you going to grow old outrageously, do you think?
Yeah.
Are
Well,
you?
I'm pushing it now.
Oh.
But there's a
Well,
lovely
how
poem
old
about
are you
actual
now?
wear poem. I'm
50?
52.
Young person.
Yeah, it's not. Age
No,
has
but
always bored me
nowadays,
stiff.
yeah.
When I was about 18, I thought, oh, I can't wait to be 30. I knew 30 would be really good. Then I got to 30 and I thought, bit young. So I'm sort of thinking about 74 at the moment. Not to die, but to hit my prime.
Your prime, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just gained your stride.
Yeah. There's a poem, I can't remember who wrote it, but it was about a woman who says, when I grow old, I shall wear purple. And you think, that's absolutely sublime. And, you know, she'll sit with her knees apart in chairs and put the head back. You know, all the things you long to do. Just go, hang it.
Now, what's in the future for you then, Joanna?
I've got some lovely... There's quite a sort of backlog. When we work, as we know, you do it, and then it all
There's
kind of
things
comes
to come out, yeah.
So I've got some lovely stuff coming out next weekend, Nancherrow, which comes out on Easter.
What's that? Tell me.
It's a sort of family saga. We did a mini-series last year for 4 hours on Easter Day and Easter Monday. And now we're doing the follow-up of this, which is, again, Easter Day and Easter Monday. And then I've got a lovely film called Parting Shots, which is Michael Winner, which is just about to come out. Lovely film with Anna Friel called Mad Cows, just about to come out. And I'm about to start filming a new comedy series called Dr. Willoughby. So, blag on, you know? Wow.
Well blagged, girl.
Well blagged, yeah. Very well blagged indeed. OK, well, Joanna, thanks a lot. I enjoyed that very much indeed. Joanna Lumley, thank you very much indeed. Now, next Friday, which is Good Friday, the last Parkinson of the current series, will feature an interview I did with Woody Allen. So sadly, we're coming to the end of the present run of shows. That being the case, we thought we'd look back, and not to the start of this series, but to the very beginnings of Parkinson in 1971. At that time, we chose a singer for the first series who was as versatile as she was stylish and talented, and she still is. She's also married to our musical director, Laurie Holloway, so we saved the licence payers a fair amount of money by sending one car for the two of them tonight. Would you welcome, please, Miss Marion Montgomery.
Gather round me, everybody. Gather round me while I preach them. I feel a sermon coming on me. The topic will be sin, and that's what I'm again. If you want to hear my story, gather up and just sit tight while I start reviewing the attitude of doing right. Got to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative and do not mess with Mr. In Between. You gotta spread joy up to the maximum and bring gloom right down to the minimum and have faith. A pandemonium is liable to walk upon the scene. To illustrate my last remark, Jonah in the whale ain't Noah in the ark. What did they do just when everything looks so dark? They said you gotta accentuate the positive, eliminate that negative, and latch on to the affirmative, and do not mess with Mr. so dumb. Lord, they said you gotta love, accentuate the positive. Eliminate that negative and latch on to the affirmative. Do not mess with Mr. In Between. No, no, no. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. No, no, no. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. He's the devil, if you know what I mean.
That rolled back the years, Marion. My final guest tonight is just returned from Hollywood, where he was nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor. He didn't win it, but in my humble opinion, he was robbed. One critic described him as the British theatre's greatest contemporary actor. Much loved, much respected, yet not remotely pompous or precious. In my view, had he been born in Barnsley and not Burnley, he'd have been perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Ian McKellen.
And now I get round to you. All right, it's nice to see you. You know, they played that song when I got my knighted.
Well, they play what?
But when you go and get knighted, you wait. There's a little band in the Minstrels Gallery playing tunes from the shows. And when I got knighted, they played that tune. Isn't that An Actor's Life for Me?
It is indeed. Yeah, I diddly-dee.
Yeah.
And it's from a Walt Disney film.
And when I got my CBE, they played When I'm Cleaning Windows. What is that?
Are they very impressed in America, from whence you've lately returned, by the fact that you are a knight?
Yeah, they're very impressed and very confused at the same time. Most of them think I'm a lord and now related to the Queen, and I don't disabuse them. But you do fall down the bump when you arrive through customs. I arrived at Heathrow fresh from the Oscars. I'd been seen by 1 billion people all over the world, and I was signing a few autographs across America, and I arrived in London, and it stopped because as I went through the Green Channel, I was beckoned over by a couple of heavies, and I had to take out everything that I'd brought back from America, and I kept saying, I'm just back from the Oscars, you know. So I opened up all the cases, and they said, well, you don't seem to have much with you. Your cigarettes, yes. What? Any gifts? Oh, I said, yes. You know, when you're up for an Oscar, you get a lot of gifts. Well, you do. I was offered a mattress for a start.
A mattress?
A mattress company who was sponsoring the Oscars said I could have a mattress. Did I want a king size or a queen size? A stupid question. I said, I don't need a mattress. I've got an emperor at home. So, lots of jewellery, a couple of watches, there's one of them, a couple of alarm clocks, lots of makeup. And this suit, which I'm wearing tonight, which I had made for me by a tailor in Los Angeles. And the customs pounced on this and said, how much would it cost if I'd bought it? And I said, well, I'm not in the habit of asking people who give me things how much they cost. So they impounded the suit. I said, I've got the opening of my movie, Gods and Monsters, for the Prince's Trust in the West End. I've got to wear this suit. I said, I'm going to wear it on the Parkinson show.
Now that I don't believe.
No, I've made that up, but not the rest. I finally got it out. But the tailor had to send a fax over saying how much it would have cost.
It's extraordinary, balmy. You get the image, don't you, of all that kerfuffle going on with you with your suit, and as that's happening, there's some guy going back with the false boobs like you had, with tons of drugs in.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about the Oscars, because I'm a great admirer of your performance in Gods and Monsters. I think it's wonderful. And I can't believe, I've not seen Roberto Benigni's film.
No.
But what do you think about him winning it, by the way?
Well, of course, disappointment, because you want to win it yourself, and you have to gear yourself up to the possibility that you will win, so that you don't make a fool of yourself in that 45 minutes in which you thank everybody you've ever met. Well, I think what happened at the Oscars, and it's fascinating to analyse it, and that's what goes on during the fever that takes over the whole of the stage, it seems to me, beforehand. It's a festival, it's a fiesta. The climax is the day when they're announced, but before that, everyone's joining everyone's got a point of view, everyone goes and sees the movies. It's a very healthy help to the film industry.
Yes.
We don't quite get it here because it all happens in the middle of the night, the climax of it. But who wins the Oscar is actually not the point. The point is everything that precedes it, which, of course, is commercial because it helps you advertise your movie and sell it. And why did Benigni get it? He's in a charming comedy about the Holocaust, believe it or not.
Well, how can you have a charming comedy
But
about
I'm
the
not here
Holocaust?
to advertise that movie, except that it does tell you that life is beautiful. And then Shakespeare in Love, a romantic fantasy about the world, won over the film about the Second World War,
Saving Private Ryan.
And I think the Academy wanted to feel good about life, and maybe I lost out to that because Gods and Monsters is about the difficulties of living rather than what's easy about it.
It's an interesting film. It's about the story of James Whale. It's a true story about Whale, who came from England.
He came from the Midlands, yes,
Midlands,
the Black Country.
Dudley,
Yes,
that's right,
yes,
of course
yeah.
it was, that's right. And directed marvellous films in Hollywood, including Frankenstein, well, preeminently, I suppose, Frankenstein. And it's a story of him in his later life.
That's right. He directed Frankenstein, The Bride of Frankenstein, Invisible Man, the first showboat, the first Man in the Iron Mask. He was the highest paid director in Hollywood.
Yes. And he was also gay, too, and he was openly gay
Openly
at a
gay.
time in Hollywood when, in fact, it wasn't only, I suppose, illegal, wasn't it, apart from all else?
Yes, certainly frowned on. I mean, the point he makes in the movie is that nobody cares what directors get up to because they don't know what they are. But it was true then, as it's a little bit true now, that if you're an actor, the advice is don't come out. Don't confuse,
in America.
Don't confuse the public by explaining that you're gay because they won't ever believe you're playing straight parts. Well, that's as ridiculous as saying that Tom Hanks shouldn't have played that gay part in Philadelphia because he's straight. You know, it doesn't make any sense. I think the public is much more sophisticated than the producers, really.
I think it's a fact, though, isn't it, that had you actually won the Oscar, you'd have been the first openly gay actor to have won it.
Yeah, and you've missed my speech. It was going to be quite a rousing affair.
Oh, it was going to be... Was it?
But what was...
Is it? Yeah.
There is an awful lot about the evening at the Oscars which is thrilling, and I was on the front row, and when Kazan came on, you know, Elia Kazan,
Yes.
the man who'd supported the blacklist by shopping his friends during the McCarthy period,
Sure.
was there being honoured by his colleagues, many of whom, of course, didn't agree that he should be so honoured, despite him having made wonderful movies. And he came on, this frail old man, supported by two heavies, Robert De Niro, the great actor, Martin Scorsese, the great director. Don't you dare cause a fuss while we're on the stage, in that sense. And they both fluffed their lines. They were both extremely nervous. The old man didn't really know where he was. And the embarrassment in the audience was a treat for this observer to watch. You know, it was just a really exciting live theatre, put on TV, and on TV you didn't get the sense of the embarrassment because they were very careful to keep away from those like me who didn't stand up in honour of him. And then this was a programme all in honour of film. It's odd, isn't it, that the Oscar ceremony should actually be wonderful live theatre, but not frightfully good television, and certainly dreadful movies. The only person who could have filmed that would have been Kazan himself.
Well, those wounds were deep ones, you know, because when I interviewed many years ago John Wayne, who similarly had shocked people, I got a cable, in those days you had cables, from Carl Foreman, saying, if you don't ask the bastard about the people he shocked, I'll never watch your show again, really? He said,
Yes, yeah.
And I did, and he didn't like it at all. I mean, it's that awful closed part of Hollywood history, isn't it, which was open, the doors were again open when you saw Kazan up there. All right, but let's not talk about, let's talk about you. I mean, this business about, I said you'd be the first openly gay actor to have won the Academy Award. You came out when you were, what, 49, weren't you? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's 10 years ago.
Do you wish that you'd done it before?
Yeah. I don't have many regrets about my life, but that's certainly the one thing that would have made my life better or different.
In what sense
I think better.
would it have made it better and different?
Well, I may appear, as we all appear, to be fairly self-confident people, but actors I'm talking about, only because we're speaking other people's lines and we've rehearsed what we're going to do. many of us, like me, are sheltering from the difficulties of life by going into this pretend world where everything's all right, and if it's not all right, you can do a retake, or there's somebody there to help you. There's a prompter in the corner. Life ain't like that. And I think if I'd been confident enough to say to the world, as I always said to my friends, that I was gay, then I would have had a self-confidence that would have held me in good stead in that part of my life that wasn't organised.
Two things. When you came out, when you were 49 and declared your hand, so to speak, and said, I'm gay, I mean, it obviously freed you greatly. Did it, it might seem a daft question, but I'll ask it, did it make you a better actor?
It changes you so utterly inside. I wasn't aware of the millstone that had dropped, but it freed up my emotions enormously in life. And blow me, yes, it did. It freed up my emotions on stage and in film. And
in what sense?
Well, I find I can cry now. I never could cry before, at all. You know, when the part called for it, there was always acted somehow, and I don't know. A psychologist would explain it to me, I suppose, if I asked, but it just... everything started flowing properly. I became a normal person at last. You find this odd because you've been a normal person all your life. And I wasn't allowed to be normal.
No, exactly. I mean, this is... it's
but
living
now
with
I
this...
feel I've joined the human race, and
Yes.
it's wonderful.
It's living with this great secret, isn't it? That is...
It's not good. It's very bad
controllable.
for the soul, and it's also bad for your family, who get... embarrassed about it, and it's very bad for society. That's what I think. It denies an awful lot of people, sizable minority, a chance to really enter into the life of the nation, and I think that's why the laws should be changed, to make sure that people like me should be as free as everybody else.
Let us go back, though, on this theme to Hollywood, because, I mean, here you have Hollywood still denying the fact that several leading actors that we see on the stage today, with carefully disguised by girlfriends, handbags and whatever, are in fact gay. And they're still living that lie. And it's amazing that should be the case. And when you think even further back, and you think of the time just after Wales' film, or during the period that your film was made in, of the people there like Cary Grant and people like that who were... Marlon Dietrich.
Well, there are astonishing photographs of Cary Grant and Randolph Scott, you know, the very tough cowboy, when they were living together.
Yeah.
Sharing breakfast in their silk pyjamas with the dog that they owned in their house.
Yes.
These were publicity photographs that everybody saw and thought, oh, how charming, these two handsome young men living together, waiting for a couple of girls to make them happy. On the contrary, they were perfectly happy on their own. But that was fooling the public. No, you're right, people do still hide. There's only one star out in Hollywood, and she's who's gay, that's a woman, Anne Hesh, Ellen DeGeneres' girlfriend.
That's right.
And it was very sweet because they arrived at the Oscars just as I arrived with Sean Mathias, who I lived with for 10 years, and took along as my good luck mascot. And there was I holding hands with Sean, and these girls were holding hands. And the press went wild, and the public went wild, and they just said, to me, it seems to me, oh, thank God, it's all over. And but of course it isn't, because kids in Hollywood are still told, don't tell the truth.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, your character, of course, your Patsy, the gay icon. There were 5 Patsies at the Sydney Mardi Gras one.
It's rather, I think it's because she's tall. And no, I mean this, and because I've got broad shoulders, a chap finds it quite easy to imitate me, because I'm tall and I've got shoulders, and once you get the big yellow hair and the fag and the old glass of wine, people know who you are, and it's important if you're dressing as somebody that they can get you within a second.
I think gay men are attracted to that character, as we are attracted to you as well, Dan.
Of course.
By the fact that she's a rebel, and there are occasions when she says exactly what she thinks and doesn't give a damn, and that's what gay people would like to do and often are not allowed to do.
Yes.
So when they see a woman doing it, they think, yeah, that's good for her. I really give her my vote.
Let's have a look at a clip from your film, from Gods and Monsters. As I said, it's you in your 70s, in your declining years. It's difficult to actually detail your character, because there are so many parts of him that are sympathetic. There are so many parts of him that are not sympathetic.
That's what's good about the
And here's a man who's actually praying, he's like some spider in his life, drawing these young men to him. And
he knows he's close to the end of his life. He's
That's
decrepit.
right.
He's had a bit of a stroke. a new gardener comes to do his lawn, and he draws him into his life and then takes him off to a party, which is run by...
George Cukor.
George Cukor, another famous film director who was a closeted gay. He wasn't truthful about it. And so Whale arrives with a little bit of mischief in his eyes to embarrass Cukor in front of his principal guest, who is the young Princess Margaret.
Very well set up, sir.
Okay.
You've done this before. Let's have a look at this. Neil said, who's that guy, the gardener? He was in George of the Jungle.
That's Brendan Fraser.
That's Brendan Fraser, George of the Jungle. He's in town tonight for the premiere of Gods and Monsters, and he's, I think he's going to be one of the great Hollywood movie stars. He's doing lots of silly films at the moment, which is fine, but he can really act, yes. Go and see it for him,
yeah. You took Monica Lewinsky as your date.
I did, to the opening, yes. Yes, I met an awful lot of people in Hollywood. The high spot for me was meeting Neil Simon, actually, who's written every decent stage comedy of this century that wasn't written by Alan Ayckbourn. And we discovered that we liked each other enormously. And lots of stars, Shirley MacLaine. I had a little chat with Jack Nicholson and Kevin Costner and Meryl Streep. And then there was Monica Lewinsky. And I knew all about her, and it turned out she knew a little bit about me. And she said she was coming to England. I said, what are you doing at the end of the week? I want to come to the opening of my movie. And she said yes, so she did.
Oh, great. Did she create a furore, a stir in the crowd, a frisson?
Yes, but I do. Wherever I go, I don't think it was anything.
Of course.
I think she was frightfully good for my image. I don't know whether I was very good for hers.
No, all right. So Oscars nominations didn't win, but does that mean that Hollywood offers flow in now? That you're submerged in scripts?
Well, as I was saying, the lead up to the Oscars, I think, is more crucial than the actual day itself. And without boasting, I did pick up 10 awards in the States for that performance in the last as many weeks. So there is a sense that I'm around now, and people enjoyed Richard III as well. And another movie I've got coming out called Apt Pupil, based on a Stephen King short story, which is already out in the States. So I'm now thought of as respectable. I think I've moved up that list, which is topped with Anthony Hopkins and ends with, probably always ended with me, actually. But I think I've crept up the list of English people. And thank God I don't always have to now play Nazis or indeed Americans. I can play a bit more myself.
What about you, Neil? What about Hollywood? You went there, didn't you?
Yeah, I popped over for a visit. I mean, literally, occasionally the call comes. You know, they'd heard there's a bit of a furore going on in England, and it was to do with, you know, me and the programmes I've been involved in. So I got the call to go over there, and I just went and had a lot of meetings, really, which is really the boring end of the scale. You know, having lots of meetings with casting directors who are just pretending to be so nice. I watch all your movies. I said, what's strange, I've only made 2, you know. And one of those was, you know, 3 years ago, and I don't think you'd understand the accent I was using, love, you know, but you know, they're kind of a bit lush, they're a bit all over you. I'm not sure, I never sort of aspired to want to go to America to work. I mean, there's such fine work over here, so if something happens that I feel is the right job, because I mean, like you said, there's so much dross being made out there. You know, we only get to see the really polished end of the market here. Sure. And it would be easy to get dragged into a sort of series of really crass pictures and things. When I've actually got a very comfortable, happy life over here where I'm earning what I want to earn and doing the jobs that I like doing. And so until something, it's to say I'd go and work anywhere, you know, if the job was right. But to go to try and court this Hollywood ideal and to tout yourself in America, to me, is nothing more abhorrent, you know.
What about you, Joanna? Did you ever imagine yourself as the sort of Hollywood film star?
It was too late for me even then. You know?
Oh, nonsense.
No, the truth of the matter is that America is absolutely filled with gorgeous, talented people who take classes every day for 6 hours, tap dance and do singing. They're desperate to be in movies. Why on earth would they pick on an English woman? all I would play there would be bitchy nannies or sort of servants. I thought you'd say butlers, because we're usually butlers or bad people. And you just think, well, there's no point in going over there and begging in a long line to try to be a butler or nanny.
Yes.
But we are lucky. We're lucky as immigrants if we do get caught up in American show business. It could be on Broadway, you know, the other end of the continent. To have home to come back to. If you're American, you've nowhere to go back to. And they're all, of course, longing to come over here to work in the West End, as we've noticed recently, and indeed work in British movies. So many American movies are made here.
Yes.
No, you're right, Neil.
I have noticed a difference now. For the first time I was asked to do a picture, Danny DeVito asked me to play his wife, which was an American part in a film, which then didn't come about. But I auditioned in an American voice to play an American woman. That was the first time for me.
Yeah, I met the same people that you were. I
Did you?
I was there a few weeks after you were with
were
the
at
same
the
cast
same
of people. And I was offered the part and turned it down. I showed them the photographs and that was it. No, but it's true, I did meet those people.
The joke is I'm actually going to play the part.
You're going to play the part, yes.
I'm actually going to play the part.
Doing it now.
All right, well, Ian, thanks for coming, and all the best with the film.
Thank you.
I hope it gets a proper release, and I hope it's a BBC film too. Of course.
It's a BBC film. We have, I think, really good distributors here, Flashpoint, who are going to make sure put a lot of money behind advertising it and so on. And I'm very glad you enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it immensely, and it's nice to go to a movie house and sit there and actually be treated like a human being, like a grown-up adult. You know,
yes,
and,
exactly.
It's just that it's a good movie, and it's funny and it's sad, and it's interesting too. In that I'm starting a new conversation here, but what's poignant to it about me is that business about these damaged people who came out of the First World War, and that's really what he was, wasn't he? This
exactly.
There was a generation.
You
of those
wouldn't
people,
think there was another interesting story to come out
no,
of the First World War, but this is one of them.
And I'm fascinated by that.
And the thought that Frankenstein, that the icon of Frankenstein's monster, should have come out of the experience of a man who had not that long previously had survived the First World War and seen people dying in a desolate landscape, which he recreates in the Frankenstein movie, is a very illuminating gloss on the whole of that story.
We'll go see it.
I hope so.
Sir Ian McKellen, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Sir Ian McKellen. My thanks to Sir Ian, to Joanna Lumley and to Neil Morrissey, and Marion Montgomery, of course, Laurie Holloway and the big band. As I said, next week's guest is the comedian, actor, director and writer, Woody Allen. Until then, from all of us here, very good night. Good night.
Recent encounters to more memorable moments from the archives, famous faces in conversation, choosing their desert island discs. Listen now on BBC Sounds.